when we're talking about proteins, we know you know that it contains the elements of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and some proteins it contains sulfur. Okay, then when we compare the proteins with carbohydrates and lipids, you know that carbohydrates and lipids contain only carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And among the nutrients, nitrogen is the only nutrient which provides. Protein is the only nutrient which provides nitrogen to our body. Okay, then it has a significant importance because of that. Okay. Then approximately 300 grams of protein synthesized by the body each day. Only about 100 grams are made from amino acids consumed in the diet. Okay, then you know that you have learned that in your advanced level biology also, we can synthesize protein in our body. Okay, then we need about 300 grams of protein each day. Among that, we only take about 100 grams of protein through our diet. Okay, 200 grams are synthesized in our body. Okay, you need to know that in average, about 90 grams of protein is getting by an average adult per day. Okay, then it depends on the age, nutritional status, gender, and other things. In average, 19 gram of protein is taken by an adult individual. Okay. Apart from that, our body has at least 30,000 types of protein, each with the different duties. Okay, you need to know that also. And if I ask, what is the building block of protein? What is the building block of protein?
Amino acids.
Amino acids. Then you know that amino acids are binded through peptide bonds. Okay. Then I need to know. I do not need to explain about amino acids. You know that very well. When it contain carboxylic group, amine group, hydrogen group, and hydrocarbon group. So proteins are composed of amino acids that differ in arrangement and qualitative relationships. Then protein differ from each other due to the amino acid sequence and their structure. You know that protein has 4 structures: primary, secondary, tertiary, and subsequent structure. Then proteins are different due to the amino acid sequence and the structure of the polypeptide chain. So that is basic. Then what do you know about non-essential amino acids? If I ask about...
They are synthesized in the body itself?
Yes, they can. Non-essential amino acids can be synthesized in our body. Okay, good. Then of the 22 amino acids known to be physiologically important, body is capable of synthesizing some under proper conditions by the human body in sufficient amounts to meet needs. They are called non-essential amino acids or dispensable amino acids. Okay. Then can you remember a few non-essential amino acids? Then remember arginine, asparagine, alanine, cysteine, glycine, glutamic acid, aspartic acid, glutamine, proline, serine, and tyrosine are non-essential amino acids. And I have started some non-essential amino acids because these are called conditionally essential amino acids. Because these are called conditionally essential amino acids because in some conditions, these amino acids cannot be synthesized in our body. For an example, when we do not have proper methionine intake from our diet, we cannot synthesize cysteine. Then under that condition, cysteine is called an conditionally essential amino acid. Okay. Likewise, I have started such a conditionally essential amino acids. Okay. Okay. Is that any problem for you? Did you get my point?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Then ඔගොල්ලෝ අසමාවට හිත අහලා තියෙන මීට කලින් amino acids 20යි කියලා නේද? එහෙමද? නැත්නම් 22ක් තියෙනවා කියලා දන්නවද?
20.
20 again.
Yes. Then if you go much deeper, there are 22 amino acids known to be physiologically important. Okay. Then hereafter use that. And what is meant by essential amino acids then?
We
They
have to
cannot
take
be
them with
synthesized
foods.
in the body.
Yes, amino acids we cannot synthesize in our body. Then we need to take through our diet. Okay. Then amino acids that cannot be synthesized by the human body in sufficient amounts to meet needs and therefore must be included in the diet. They are called indispensable or essential amino acids. So there are 8 essential amino acids, and histidine is required during growth. For infants and children, histidine is preferred as an essential amino acids. Apart from that, phenylalanine, valine, tryptophan, threonine, isoleucine, methionine, lysine, and leucine are referred as essential amino acids. Okay. Then we need to have a proper amino acid in our diet, because I have explained that in this slide. Amino acid balance is needed for the production of tissues and other compounds. When lacking, human cells will not be able to make needed proteins. In the very first lecture, I included that our body contains nearly 30,000 different types of proteins, and majority of that proteins can be synthesized in our body. Okay, so in order to synthesize that proteins, we need to have proper amino acid intake. Then we need to proper intake of essential and essential and other amino acids, because without such amino acids, we cannot synthesize the required proteins in our body. So it is like that. If you are given to write an article without allowing use A, C, and E letters, then you will be in a big trouble. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයගලන්ට ආටිකල් එකක් නැත්නම් රචනාවක් ලියන්න කියලා කිව්වොත් එimhe A අකුරයි C අකුරයි E අකුරයි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැතුව එතකොට ඔයගලන්ට සමහර වචන ලියන්න බෑ නේද? අන්න ඒ වගේ තමයි අපිට essential amino acids හරියට බොඩි එකට ගන්න බැරි වුණොත් එimhe අවශ්‍ය කරන proteins ශරීරය තුළ නිෂ්පාදනය කරන්න බෑ. Then it is a very good example to elaborate the importance of amino acids, essential amino acids. Okay, පැහැදිලිද?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then if you have any questions, please ask. You are most welcome to disturb me at any time. Okay. Then what are the major functions of protein? What are the major functions of protein? You have learned that thing in, I think, many times, starting from ordinary level subjects.
Repair body tissues,
Yes, building and repairing body tissues. Yes, good.
work as antibodies,
Yes, then it has a defense action
mechanism,
against infections. Infections. Uh,
growth of the body,
yes,
Maintain proper pH.
maintain proper
pH.
pH. Yes, protein is act as a buffer in our body. Apart from that,
Enzymes.
yes, formation of enzymes and also you know that bonds are made out of protein and calcium and other essential some essential minerals. So it maintains our body structure. Apart from that, protein permit movement in muscle in fertile protein. So it allow movements for people, for especially for human. Okay. So those are the major functions of protein. So I have listed out some nutritionally uh, important functions of protein. Okay, protein provides structure to individual cells and to the body as a whole, because you know that cell membranes, there are proteins in cell membranes. So protein provide structure for individual cells, and as a body, protein uh, uh, is a vital part of bones and muscles. So it provides structure. And protein makes up about 18 to 20% of our body. And it is a necessary part of every cell. And skeletal muscle accounts for more than half of body protein. And proteins are essential for growth. And you know that fats and carbohydrates cannot be substituted for protein as they do not contain nitrogen. I discuss about this matter. Nitrogen can be taken to our body only through proteins. So it is very essential for growth. And proteins supply raw materials for the formation of digestive juices, hormones, plasma proteins, hemoglobin, immunoglobulins, vitamins, and enzymes. Thereby, protein facilitate body processes. And protein protects body from injury and invasion by foreign substances. Then you know that our skin is made out of uh, keratin. It's a kind of protein. So it uh, protects our body from entering bacteria and other foreign substances. And also you know that immunoglobulins are proteins. Then antibodies work on foreign matters entered to our body. So it has a defense action. And proteins action as buffers thus help to maintain reactions of various media such as plasma, cerebrospinal fluid, and intestinal secretions. And the body is constantly undergoing wear and tear. What is meant by wear and tear? Wear and tear කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? What does that mean? Even you must have heard about that term in your when you are taking some goods, especially electronic items and other things. Wear and tear. කාලයත් එක්ක ෂය වීම. Then you know that with aging, we as humans undergo normal general wear and tear process. So protein need to repair those used things. Then protein provide essential amino acids, which are building stones for protein synthesis. So that is quite obvious. And what do you think about the last point? Protein, is that a good energy source?
No.
Yes. Protein is
Yes, sir.
not. Yes, no. Actually, protein is not a good energy source because protein can provide energy similar to that of lipid or carbohydrate. Protein, 1 gram of protein provides 4 calorie of energy, which is equivalent to carbohydrates or lipids. Lipids can provide more energy than that, but protein is not a good energy source, and it is used by our body unless we do not have carbohydrates and lipids to be used for our body processes, and it is a wasteful process. Okay, and protein is never considered a primary energy source, but it can provide energy similar to that of carbohydrates. Okay. Okay, do you have any problems regarding that? I have only included the nutritional role of proteins. Apart from that, you know that we can say many things. Protein involved in blood clotting and permit movement in muscle and contractile, act as contractile protein. Likewise, okay. You know that there are many roles of proteins. Okay. Then if you consider about protein sources, you know that very well. There are animal sources as well as plant sources. Then as the next part of this lecture, we will compare a bit about animal sources of protein and plant sources of protein. Okay. Then are there any vegetarian in this group? Vegetarian කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවද මේ group එකේ? Can you hear me?
Vegetarian කවුරුත් නැහැ, sir.
Okay, then okay, we will say first of all, we will look about animal proteins. Animal proteins contain more of the essential amino acids than plant proteins in the proper proportions where the body needs. Then it's a good thing about animal protein. And animal proteins also tend to be digested more easily than that of plant proteins. So again, that is a plus point of animal proteins. And foods of animal origin are generally sources of high quality protein or complete dietary protein, because animal proteins or proteins coming from animal sources generally contain more essential amino acids in required amounts for our body, and also they are easily digestible than plant proteins. Okay, that is the good things about animal proteins. And as agriculture students, I don't need to talk about animal sources of protein. You know that very well. During other courses, you must have learned about these things. The largest source of protein, especially in developed countries, is the animal sources. And beef, veal, pork, lamb, poultry, and fish are considered animal sources of protein. And other than that eggs, milk, yogurt, and cheese also good sources of protein which have an animal origin. And the problem of animal protein is that even though they are external source of protein, they contain high amount of fat. In the next lecture, we will talk about fat and the effect of our health. So problem of most of the animal sources which we use for protein is that they contain high amount of fat. With protein, we tend to uh, uh, ingest more fat through our diet, and most of the animal sources contain saturated fats, which is not quite good for our health, and also there's no fiber. If we consider that, if we compare that with plant proteins. Okay. Okay. Then considerably, um, these are quite expensive than plant proteins. Okay. Then since this I have included about saturated fats. Recently, there was a argument that coconut oil is not good for our health. Some health professionals argue that coconut oil is not good for our health because it contains a lot of saturated fats. Then මෑතකදී ඩොක්ටර්ස්ලා විශේෂයෙන් මේගොල්ලෝ ආගිව් කරා කොකොනට් ඔයිල් එච්චර හොඳ නෑ ශරීරයට ශරීර සෞඛ්‍යයට saturated fat තියෙන හින්දා කියලා. But actually it's not. Because coconut oil contain, even though coconut oil contain about 90% of saturated fats in total, but these saturated fats are having short or mid long chain, and they are not stored in our body, and they can be used for energy. So there's no high risk of having heart diseases and high cholesterol. Actually, there's no risk of cholesterol by taking coconut oil in our diet. And yes, so as students who have a knowledge in nutrition, you must have courage to argue such arguments with solid science facts. Okay. මම දැකලා තියෙනවා ගොඩක් ඔය නිවුස් පේපර්ස් වලත් ඔය වගේ දේවල් යනවා. නමුත් ඒක එහෙම නෙමෙයි. ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් we will talk that in the next lecture under lipids. So this slide contains this saturated fat, that's why I told. So coming back to the lecture, when we consider the plant proteins, most of the plant proteins lack one or more essential amino acids. That is a problem with plant proteins. And compared to animal proteins, plant proteins are usually more difficult to digest. So those are two limiting factors of having only relying on plant proteins in our diet. Okay. And plant proteins are therefore referred to as incomplete dietary protein. But in the past, some people have preferred plant proteins as low quality proteins, but nowadays we don't use such terms, low quality proteins, because even though an individual only relying on plant proteins, he can supply the required essential amino acids if he or she do protein complementation. Okay, then I will talk a bit about protein complementation. However, a mixture of plant proteins may provide all essential amino acids in adequate quantities. That is called protein complementation. So it is like that. Complementary proteins. Two or more incomplete proteins that can be combined to provide all the indispensable amino acids. It means essential amino acids. Most consume more to get what is needed. Only focusing on incomplete protein is harmful, but we can provide adequate proportion of essential amino acids if we do complementation. It means adding 2 or more sources of plant proteins to our diet. Okay, we can use combinations. We can use grains, nuts, or seeds with legumes. So all these are plant proteins. Then grains must have lack of some amino acid, but nuts may have that amino acids, and seed may lack of some amino acid, but legumes may have that amino acid. So if you use these combinations, then that is called protein complementation, and we can provide all the essential amino acids to use right combinations. Okay, then peanuts, legumes, and wheat, grain, then it provides complete protein. Complete protein means all the essential amino acids that in required proportions to our body. And here you can see protein complementation chart. So if we consider beans, legumes, which is a plant protein source, and the limiting amino acids means that beans is lacking of methionine. It does not contain methionine. But if we combine beans or legumes with dates and nuts, which are good source of methionine, then we can provide methionine to our body. So red beans and rice is a good combination to provide this limiting amino acid. So likewise, you have many examples in this chart. Okay, that is called protein complementation, and it is a good process. Especially for vegetarians, you need to know about these facts. Okay, so if a vegetarian only use few sources for their diet, then they are really will have a problem, because you know that these essential amino acids need to produce synthesize proteins in our body. So I explained that without giving some letters, you cannot write a complete essay. Okay, likewise, definitely you must provide essential amino acids. It's okay to be a vegetarian, but you have to take the right combination. Okay, think about that. And plant sources of protein can be found in grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes. And you know that legumes capture nitrogen, making them more protein dense. Peanuts, black-eyed peas, kidney beans, black beans, lentils, chickpeas, and lima beans, they are good sources of protein. And soybeans are a type of legume that can be converted to form different types of food products, and it is called a meat alternative. Okay. Then if you go further, if we compare animal protein source with the plant protein source, say then extra lean ground beef patty, this kind of burger with white beans, this usually the animal protein sources provide more calories than that of plant proteins and more cholesterol. And you know that the plant sources are free of cholesterol, which is a good point. And it is high in saturated fat. And plant sources are low in saturated fat, and animal sources does not provide fiber, while plant sources provide good amount of fiber. Okay, I have included this not to tell that plant sources are good than animal sources, but you should understand that animal proteins are easy to digest, and they provide essential amino acids in good proportions. Okay, but on the other hand, plant proteins also have good things. Okay, we cannot say that this is low quality, this is high quality. We use such classification in the early days, but nowadays we don't use that thing. Okay, if you read good nutrition books or other sources, we don't use that plant proteins are inferior and it is low quality. We don't use such classification nowadays. Okay, you know that you should know that there are advantages as well as disadvantages. Okay, then digestibility of some proteins is shown in this graph, this table, and egg, milk, meat, which are considered animal proteins and have a good digestibility than plant proteins. Okay, that is quite obvious. We discussed that. And here you can see protein content of some foods: cassava, potato, cow's milk, rice, eggs, and lean beef. And you can observe that when comparing to plant proteins, animal sources or animal origin protein sources contain more protein than plant protein sources. Okay, then we will look about what is meant by protein quality. Then in plant, when we discussing about animal protein sources, we told that they are high quality, considered high quality protein. And protein quality is a measure of how good the protein in a food is at providing the essential amino acids needed by the body. So it is a measure of having essential amino acids in that protein source. And protein quality of the diet has a relationship to the amount required. If the quality of a protein is poor, the requirement is set at a higher value. This is very important point. If some food article having low protein quality, then we need to get higher amount of that food article to fulfill our needs. Okay, then and on the other hand, if a food article, if a food item has a higher protein quality, then we need only fewer amount than that of low quality or low protein quality food. Okay, and protein quality is measured experimentally using number of methods. Chemical or amino acid score, such method, and protein digestibility corrected amino acid score is a very common method used nowadays. And I will just explain, just elaborate and list down these protein quality measurements: net protein utilization, biological value, and protein efficiency ratio. So you must have heard about these terms in many disciplines, like net protein utilization and biological value in explaining protein quality. Okay, but nowadays nowadays we use protein digestibility corrected amino acid score to compare the protein quality of foods. In the earlier, net protein utilization and biological value used as measures of protein quality, but nowadays we must we rely on protein digestibility corrected amino acid score, or PDCCAS, in explaining protein quality in food items. Okay. ඔගොල්ලෝ ඉස්සර සමහරට අපි A level syllabus එකේදී මේ net protein utilization, NPU කියන එක, biological value කියන එක පාවිච්චි කරලා protein quality එක ගැන කියන්නේ. නමුත් දැන් ගොඩක් අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ මෙන්න මේ term එක. PDCAS කියන එක. Protein digestibility corrected amino acid score කියන එක. ඔගොල්ලෝ අලුතෙන් ආපු nutrition පොත් බැලුවොත් නැත්නම් අලුතෙන් ආපු nutrition sources refer කරොත් එimhe ඔයගලන්ට හම්බෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේක. Because we need to know about novel things. Okay, but the net protein utilization and biological value, it's quite old terms. Okay, I have explained the defined all the terms. You can read and just understand. Okay. Protein digestibility corrected amino acids, it is a measure of protein quality that reflects protein's digestibility as well as the proportions of amino acid it provides. Then we can get PDCAAS score using amino acid score multiplying by digestibility factor. And net protein utilization is the measure of protein determined by comparing the amount of nitrogen retained in the body with the amount eaten from the diet. Okay, then you can get net protein utilization by this, and this is much similar to biological value. Carefully understand. In here, it is a measure of protein quality. It get by comparing the amount of nitrogen retained in the body with the amount absorbed from the diet. In net protein utilization, it is the amount eaten from the diet, and here in biological value calculation, we use amount absorbed from the diet. Okay, so carefully refer the things and understand. Okay, then all these things are measures of protein quality. Okay, and later net protein utilization වලදී අපි ගන්නේ nitrogen retain වෙච්ච ප්‍රමාණය අපේ ශරීරයේ අපි ආහාරයෙන් ගත්ත ප්‍රමාණයෙන් බෙදලා. එතකොට biological value එකේදී nitrogen retain වෙච්ච ප්‍රමාණය අපේ ශරීරයේ බෙදනවා absorb වෙච්ච ප්‍රමාණය අපේ ආහාරයෙන් ලබාගත් ප්‍රමාණය. Then this is these things are used to these things are measures of protein quality. Okay, so I just want to explain these things are used in telling protein quality. Okay, and you should know that this thing is much used nowadays. Protein digestibility corrected amino acid score. Okay, then here you can see protein quality of some common foods: maize, millet, wheat, rice, and soya, which are plant sources of protein, have less protein quality than animal sources. Okay. Is that clear for you? පැහැදිලි නේද?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Then here you can see PDCAS values of selected food. So digestibility corrected amino acid scores values of some selected foods. So you can see that animal sources have much higher protein quality than plant sources. Okay. Just have a idea. Okay, then protein digestion and metabolism. I am not intent to discuss about those things in this lecture. And just refresh your knowledge. I have included good summarized figures to refresh your knowledge, and please look your biochemistry notes and remind the things. And again, the protein digestion, and I have summarized and I included a nice figure to get an idea. Okay, then I will discuss about nitrogen balance. Then humans cannot store excess amino acid not used for protein synthesis. They must be degraded and the nitrogen must eliminated in the urine. Okay, unlike carbohydrates and lipids, we cannot store amino acids. Okay, this is a very good point. Please understand. Okay, we cannot store excess amino acids. You know that when we eat carbohydrates, then carbohydrates can be stored in our body as glycogen. And you know that lipids is the same. They can be converted either to glycogen or stored as fat, body fat. But it is not the same for proteins. Amino acids cannot be stored in our body. Okay, then they are usually degraded into nitrogenous compounds and eliminated in urine, feces, as well as through skin as sweat. Okay. Then in adults, dietary nitrogen requirements are determined by the need of replace obligatory losses. Obligatory losses means the use of nitrogen for essential body processes. And once the two requirement is met, the nitrogen balance will tend to remain close to zero. It means if a person having good health, nitrogen intake should be equal to the nitrogen output. Here you can see a subject is said to be in nitrogen balance when nitrogen intake is equal to nitrogen output. See, we take nitrogen to our body through protein, and that taken amount should be equal to the nitrogen output from our body. If we have in a good health, or if we do not have, if we are not in a special situation like pregnancy, and I'll explain the other conditions, such special conditions. Okay, the nitrogen input should be equal to the nitrogen output. U means urine, feces, and skin. It remove nitrogenous compounds through as sweat. Then when the nitrogen balance is negative, tissues lose proteins. Then especially when we are sick or having injury, we have a negative nitrogen balance. And when the nitrogen balance is positive, then it gain protein than we required. And especially during pregnancy, there should be a positive nitrogen balance, because during pregnancy, the subject requires to produce more proteins. Okay. So there should be a good nitrogen balance in our body, because you know that we cannot store nitrogenous compounds in our body. Then it can be poisonous. Okay. Unlike carbohydrates and lipids, we cannot store nitrogenous compounds. Okay, then it can provide other detrimental compounds like ammonia and other things. Okay, so it is not good. So we have to remove all the nitrogenous compounds taken from our body. Okay. So see this table, and you can identify two people. One is having negative nitrogen balance, one is having positive nitrogen balance. Okay. Usually this person is having some illness or injury, and these people may have in some special condition. Okay, then he has positive nitrogen balance, he or she has positive nitrogen balance, then this individual has a negative nitrogen balance. Okay. Okay. Then usually we know that nitrogen is taken to body through protein, and in order to have a good nitrogen balance, we need to have proper protein intake through our diet, and a daily protein intake of 48 grams of good quality protein in PU of at least 70 is sufficient to keep most adults in nitrogen balance for many weeks. So then that is quite obvious. And here you can see positive protein balance, negative protein balance, and protein equilibrium. So here, similar to that here, then this is positive nitrogen balance, negative nitrogen balance, and good equilibrium, and we say good nitrogen balance. Okay, then we have positive nitrogen balance in the situations of growth, pregnancy, recovery stages after illness, and athletic training, and increased secretion of hormones such as insulin, growth hormone, and testosterone. And situations where we have a negative nitrogen balance is inadequate intake of protein, inadequate energy intake, conditions such as fevers, burns, and infections, deficiency of amino acids, such things. Okay. Okay, that's about nitrogen balance. Is that clear for you?
Yes, yes.
Then we will talk about protein recommendations. What do you think? Who wants more protein for adults? Is it for adults or children? What's your opinion?
Children.
Yes, children. Because children's they need more protein because they are in the growth period. And you know that to build body components, we require much amino acids. So amino acids are provided with protein. So children and infants particularly needs more protein than that of uh, average adult. So the recommended daily intake of protein for adults is about 0.8 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. So we cannot say that every individual need 20 gram of protein per day. So it depends on your body weight and your nutritional status. So if you are, for an example, if your weight is 70 kilogram, the recommended daily intake would be 56 grams of protein per day. Okay, then it is taken by multiplying 0.8 gram of protein per kilogram body weight by your body weight. Okay, so this is for uh, uh, an average adult. Okay, usually in developed countries, protein intake is higher than that. In America, protein intake of an average adult is about 90 uh, grams per day. But if we compare that to developing countries like Sri Lanka, we don't much rely on animal proteins. Therefore, our protein intake is less than that. Protein intake is less than that. Okay. Then if we compare this amount with athletes, they require more protein because again they are having uh, uh, intense exercises and other things. Okay, then the protein intake of athletes is higher than an average adult. And for infant, it means children below say 1 year of age, then they require much higher protein. Protein they have higher protein recommended daily intake. Then it's about 1.8. So it is twice than required for adults. Then for children, say 12 years of age, then they need 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Okay. Then you need to know the reason for that. So they are in the growth stage. Then for growth, in the growth stage, they build much body tissues, and for that, they require protein. Okay. And who needs more protein? If you answer to that question, growing youth and teens, pregnant and breastfeeding women, teens and adult males, and individuals with lean muscle and ill or injured people to build antibodies and rebuild damaged tissues. So these uh, groups needs more protein than an average uh, individual. So why teen and adult males require more protein than females? Can you think? Usually, the weight of teen and adult males are higher than that compared to similar teen and adult females. So maintain that they require more protein than females. Okay, but say pregnant and breastfeeding women, they need higher protein intake. Okay. I think it is clear. Then, if I have included a slide on the role of dietary protein in weight management, you must have heard about this thing. If you are in a diet management or something, new dietitians or nutritionists uh, recommend good protein, uh, good protein sources to have in your diet. Okay, rather than using rely on carbohydrate and lipid sources. There, protein, much protein to your diet. So it's because of this. Then if you need to increase your body weight, then having protein-rich diet is help to build of muscles and increase body fat. You know that plant sources of protein contain more fat with proteins. Then it will help to increase the body weight. So on the other hand, if you need to your intention is to reduction your weight, then protein-rich diets increase satiety. What is meant by satiety? Satiety means fullness. Power. Then it happens. The protein increase satiety because the absorption of protein to our body is a slower process. Then is slow down the metabolism. So it give a feeling of fullness. And also protein help to slow down the absorption of sugar. Then you know that if we have more sugars or carbohydrates, then excess is stored as glycogen. So it eventually lead to increase the body weight. So if you need to reduce your body weight, so having protein-rich diet, which will be helpful. Also, protein has a thermic effect. It means to metabolize proteins, they require much energy. So when we having a protein-rich diet, and to metabolize that proteins, it will use the stored glycogen and lipids, fat. So it indirectly help to remove the fatty and glycogen reserves in our body. So we call that. So we can list other facts also. I have included very important things to claim the role of the important role of dietary protein in weight management. Okay. I will upload the required reading materials and you can read and understand. And I can give a summary after that. Okay. And please come to the LMS and refer the reading materials and other things I provided for you. And also when I'm getting any interest in sessions, online seminars and other things, I will inform that you as announcements. Please utilize those resources, and I can give you some e-learning e-books for you. I will upload them also, and read them and make use of your time. Okay, then if you do not have anything to clarify, I'll stop from here. Thank you.